Is Marcus Rashford set to leave Manchester United now that Erik ten Hag is staying? Welcome to the United Road Sport. My name is Webb. Like, share, and subscribe as we get this update. As three credible journalists have written about one of Man United's most important players, at least in recent years, to come through from the academy, top scorer the season before the last, but has had a very forgettable 24 months. Really, it has been so bad for him going from being the hero to villain, as so many people feel he should be leaving the club. And now he has been forced off social media for his mental health. But what exactly is going on now? We do know that at Manchester United, there has been a big recurring problem of dressing room issues, player power. And there are players, senior players, top earners who are believed to be the guys really behind the player power, having the wrong attitude. And some of them were hoping that Erik ten Hag would leave. We just got reports recently, just today actually, that there are some players, most of the players, the senior players, were shocked that Erik ten Hag was staying. They were used to the way things were done before, as they would come and frown their faces and refuse to bow to instructions of the boss and see them out. They did it to David Moyes, they did it to Jose Mourinho, they did it to Luis van Gaal, they did it to all the past managers, and they failed them. They did it to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that in one game he even went and asked players who wants to play and who doesn't want. It was that bad before. Now, Erik ten Hag has been given the trust, the full trust of the new guys in charge, and he is certainly set to let go of certain players who should have noticed, who have got the wrong mentality. Now, I'm not saying Marcus Rashford is one of those. Well, it's not entirely his decision, but knowing the Belfast bender, don't fall, guys. I see people falling for the whole Erik ten Hag forgave Marcus Rashford and they moved on. I mean, you're not Erik ten Hag. Fans are backing you the way they abruptly came and backed him after winning the FA Cup, and you stick to players who you're not sure are going to give you their 100%. A player who will go in a Belfast bender when you're facing a very important game that could save your season, he goes and drinks, he's the most paid player. You don't just forgive those like that and forget it. Well, you might forgive, you might not forget it. So Erik ten Hag, now that he has got the power, and of course not his individual power, but the reality is Ineos know they angered Erik ten Hag with the way they dealt with him in the past days. So they know partly making him feel good is by giving him a bit of authority to try and clean out. They will listen to his opinion when it comes to which players leave. And the fact that already they also know that certain players are expendable, they have made it clear that there's only about 3 players who are untouchable. Rashford may not be safe. So, what exactly is going to be the case with him? What is going to happen? That's the question. So, that report is suggesting that Man United are willing to listen to offers for him. Now, there are people who are saying it's a lie, it's impossible. But look, that's if you don't know how football works. I think the fact that Erik ten Hag is staying, you're going to be shocked by how many people will not stay at Manchester United. He has got to clean that squad up and get his players that will play for him. And I've seen people talk about Scott McTominay leaving. Well, unless we get the right buyer giving us the right money. With Erik ten Hag staying, Scott McTominay is one of the safest players. I'll tell you this. He is one of the safest players at Manchester United with Erik ten Hag in charge. Understandably so, because he's one of the few who have been playing for him. He played for all the past managers. He's playing for the badge consistently. Never mind him not having the talent. He doesn't even pretend to have the talent, but he has got the heart for the club. And that alone is enough for him to be an important squad player. But Rashford, there are debates about him. And I will tell you that as the humane thing to do would be for this academy boy who is having a bad season after scoring so many goals 2 seasons ago, he should be given a chance. But you see, the thing about Rashford, the problem with him is one, he's earning so much money. That is one. Ineos are trying to trim the money, the wages. Two, he has clearly been depicted to be a big influence in the dressing room. And when you're rebuilding something like this, you don't want to have such an influence, especially if they are not your top or your best performer. So what then do you do? So that's why Erik ten Hag and Man United are stuck. That this boy has not shown the right attitude. They cannot judge him on the attitude he had 2 seasons ago, unless they have researched and found that he has issues. So he has got to do a lot to save himself. And the first step he did was to go off social media. Perhaps he's trying to do what Harry Maguire did when he was going through that bad season, that bad spell. He went in silence and hired, who was he? the former Chelsea centre back, the Portuguese, Carvalho, hired Carvalho to be his personal trainer to try and get back to top ways. Now, I hope Marcus Rashford can do the same and try to show that he's fighting to get himself up. See a mental health, counselor. Just try to get himself back up. Maybe there that effort and the club, will see that he has a will to fight and change things around. But it is not. It's extremely difficult for him to be back. The only other reason why the club might be stuck with Rashford is if you look around, really, which club is willing to spend the money we think we should be getting out of him? Which club? Because Rashford, to many, should be 80 million pounds player before the poor last days of that season. So perhaps now his value has gone down to about 70, but even at 70 million pounds, even PSG, who wanted him seasons before, will not pay that money for him. They will certainly have better options. They would rather pay that money for Mason Greenwood. So you think about it and say, maybe what could save him is the fact that there is no club that can actually afford him unless it's in Saudi, and you don't see him going to Saudi. So the situation with Rashford is tricky, but it is upon him to save himself. They are saying the report suggested that it is up to him if he puts in a transfer request, as if they are saying if he wants to leave, we can let go of him. How would he want to leave if he's earning all the amount of money he's earning and he knows he can't earn half of that anywhere else? So all he has got to do now, because it would be extremely difficult for Marcus Rashford, it would be so shameful for him to refuse to have his contract terminated, to be sold to Saudi and start Manchester United, but be a bench player, yet he's a highest paid player at the club. It would be extremely a difficult phase for him. And unless he's giving up on his career and saying, now for me, let me just enjoy my money. I can see he has a lot of expensive cars that is driving so fast as he runs. And I'm thinking, well, what's in this boy's head? But the reality is, he's 26. He should still be feeling like he has got a lot of football left in him. So he either chooses to focus on working on himself to be able to come back and prove all the naysayers that he loves Man United and he can still contribute to the team because people have seen a bit of what he can do, or he can just choose to stay, be the same, relax, refuse to leave the club, and just be on the bench and be frustrated on the bench. But no footballer at that level would want to stay there on the bench unless they have lost the fire, the desire to play football. So the Rashford situation is still unfolding, but you need to monitor it. He might be seriously going to face a bit of trouble because I don't rate him as a player Erik Ten Hag would throw his body on the line for. I don't think so. I don't think he did it for him. I think Erik Ten Hag, in some situations, was only forced to play him because he had no options, because he was also the poster boy of the club for so long. And perhaps he was even told by his top bosses to keep him there and stuff because this was a treasure of the club in some way. But I don't really think in his heart of hearts, Erik Ten Hag feels like Marcus Rashford is my player, is my guy. I might be wrong, but I don't feel it's like that. So the Rashford situation is interesting. It's unfolding, and it could get more interesting in days to come. So better subscribe, like, and share as we do follow these Manchester United players. Now, with Rashford leaving, because the insistence on Michael Olise, and people, we can keep wondering where uh, Michael Olise's funds would come from. I think if we sold Rashford, if we got a potential buyer, a person who can give us the money, we can definitely get the funds to bring Michael Olise. The thing is, who would buy Marcus Rashford? Who right now? PSG? I don't think so. Juventus? I don't think so. If they were interested in him, if there are clubs that are interested in him, he will be the first Man United player they bid for when the window opens in a day from now. He will be the first United player they bid for. If we don't see bids for Marcus Rashford in the first days of the window, trust me, we're stuck with him and we'll be on his mercy to put his head right and start trying to get back up to performing ways. For Scott McTominay, with Erik Ten Hag staying, unless there is a good offer, if they could turn down 30 million pounds from West Ham last summer, right now, what are the odds that we'll get more for him? I think Erik Ten Hag is sticking with his boy, and I wouldn't blame him. You're a manager. So many players have been against you. You're saved, you're keeping your job. You want to show loyalty to a player who has been there fighting for you all the way, showing the heart of the badge. I don't think so many United supporters will be complaining if McTominay stayed. And it's not even about his talent, it's about his heart. Talent, sometimes hard work beats talent, where talent sleeps. What have so many talented players we thought we had done for the club? And answer that and ask me what Scott McTominay has done, especially in the last season, and I'll give you an answer. So, would you blame Erik Ten Hag? That's where we are. Subscribe, like, and share. My name is Webb. I will be catching you again later.